I remember that night like a wound that never really healed. My brother's voice echoed through the phone, sharp and dismissive. "Don't come to Mom's birthday," he said coldly. "You'll just ruin it. She doesn't need your drama." For a moment, I couldn't even breathe. I stood there in my small apartment, clutching the phone, staring at the peeling wallpaper as if it could explain why my own family had decided I wasn't good enough anymore. That one sentence shattered what little connection I still believed we had. I had spent years trying to make them proud, trying to belong, trying to fix what was broken. But that night, I decided something different. I decided silence would be my loudest answer. My family was everything to me once. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the dreamer who wanted to make something of herself. Mom used to tell everyone that I'd do great things one day. But somewhere along the way, her pride turned to resentment. Maybe it was because I didn't follow the path they expected. My brother, Ryan, took over the family business, stayed in town, married his high school sweetheart, and lived the kind of predictable life everyone praised. I, on the other hand, left home with 2 suitcases and a scholarship to study design in London. They said I was selfish, that I thought I was better than them. But the truth was, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could be something more than what my small town allowed. When I moved away, the calls from home grew less frequent. First weekly, then monthly, then not at all. I sent updates, photos of my projects, letters about my job, but they were always met with silence. When Dad passed, I came home for the funeral, and the cold looks from my own blood nearly broke me. I remember overhearing Ryan whisper to someone that I only came for attention. After that, I stopped trying. Or so I told myself. Years later, I was working long nights at a small firm, designing storefronts for clients who barely remembered my name. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Then one day, an opportunity landed in my lap. A global retail brand wanted a full rebranding campaign, and I was chosen to lead it. It was risky, it was huge, and everyone said I wasn't ready. But that voice in my head, the one that had always needed to prove something, told me I had nothing left to lose. So I worked. I worked until my eyes burned, until weekends disappeared, until my life became a blur of sketches, deadlines, and coffee-stained blueprints. And when the campaign finally launched, it exploded. My designs were on billboards in New York, London, and Paris. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. But peace has a strange way of being interrupted. One morning, I got an invitation. A digital one, glossy and gold, for Mom's 60th birthday party. The same event Ryan had told me not to attend just a year before. I stared at the email, my heart caught between anger and longing. A part of me wanted to delete it immediately. Another part wanted to walk into that party and show them who they'd abandoned. But instead, I chose something different, something quieter. I decided to stay silent again, but this time not out of pain. This time out of power. The night of the party, while they toasted and laughed in that same house I grew up in, something else happened. The campaign I'd designed won a global design award. My name flashed across every major publication, trending on social media for all the right reasons. My phone buzzed nonstop. Congratulations, interviews, opportunities. And then around midnight, I got a call. Ryan. I stared at the screen, letting it ring until it went to voicemail. A few minutes later, a message came through. Mom saw your name on TV. She's crying. She said she's proud of you. It was strange. The thing I'd been waiting to hear for most of my life came through a text I almost didn't read. Pride. From the same people who once told me to stay away. I sat in silence for a while, the glow from my computer screen painting the room gold. I should have felt joy. I should have felt vindicated. But instead, I felt something deeper, relief. Not because they finally noticed me, but because I no longer needed them to. A few weeks later, I flew back home for the first time in years. Not to gloat, not to prove anything, but to close a chapter. When I walked into the family house, the silence was thick. Mom looked older, smaller than I remembered. She reached for me with shaking hands, her eyes wet. "You've done so well," she whispered. "I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner." I nodded, unsure if forgiveness was something I was ready to give. Ryan stood in the doorway, guilt written all over his face. I was just trying to protect her, he said quietly. You know how she gets. I almost laughed. Protect her from what? From me? The daughter who just wanted to be loved the same way he was? But I didn't say any of that. I just smiled and said, it's okay. Because in that moment it truly was. I had learned something through all those lonely nights and silent holidays, that revenge doesn't always need to be loud or cruel. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living the life they said you couldn't. As I left that day, I noticed something. On the mantelpiece, among family photos of birthdays and graduations, there was one new frame, a magazine cover with my face on it. I stared at it for a moment, a bittersweet smile tugging at my lips. That's when I realized I didn't need to prove my worth to anyone anymore. I already had. When I got back to my apartment in London, I opened my laptop and started a new project. Not for a brand or a company, but for myself. I wrote my story, not as a tale of pain, but as a reminder that strength often grows from being underestimated. My success didn't come from wanting to make them regret what they said. It came from realizing I didn't need their approval to be enough. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any confrontation. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful statement you can make. And sometimes the sweetest revenge is living a life so full, so bright, that the people who once doubted you have no choice but to see your light from afar.